I never thought my engagement would fall apart in the most bizarre way possible, because of an ultimatum that sounded more like a trap than a request. My fiancée, Elena, and I had been together for 5 years, engaged for 1. I was 32, she was 30, and our wedding was set in 6 months. Venue booked, deposits paid, families excited, friends on board. The whole machine of marriage was in full swing. And then came her words, slicing through stability like a sharp blade. "I need an open relationship or the wedding is off," Elena told me one Tuesday evening. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, fiddling with a coaster as if she were grounding herself for battle. Her tone was controlled, but her eyes gave away a kind of nervousness, like she was preparing for me to explode. I didn't explode. I didn't even argue. I just took a deep breath and said, "Okay, let's do it." Her jaw nearly hit the table. She blinked, stammered, and struggled to find the words. It was obvious she expected me to beg, to plead, to convince her not to walk away. What she didn't expect was my calm agreement. She had issued her ultimatum like a grenade. She thought I'd rush to throw back. Instead, I pulled the pin and set it down between us. If she wanted an open relationship, she'd get one. That night I left the apartment, giving her space, but really giving myself space to think. My mind was a storm. 5 years together, and this was where it landed? I wanted to believe it was confusion or cold feet, but deep down, I knew it was manipulation. Elena wanted control, wanted leverage, and she thought I'd fold under threat of losing her. She had no idea that her test would be the undoing of everything. The very next day, we sat down to discuss rules. Her version was vague. Honesty, respect, protection, disclosure if asked. It was clear she hadn't thought it through beyond her own desires. She spoke like she assumed she'd be the only one acting on this new arrangement, that I'd stay home sulking while she enjoyed her newfound freedom. I agreed to every rule she suggested, nodding, calm. And while she was talking, I was remembering. Over the years, Elena had often pointed out her friends' little comments, casual mentions about me, jokes about my arms, hints of interest. She never said it in a jealous way, more in disbelief that her friends found me attractive. I remembered everyone. That evening, after our talk, I started reaching out. First was Marissa, 29, Elena's college friend, bubbly, warm, always quick to laugh. I sent her a text. "Hey, random question. Free Friday night? Elena and I are trying this open relationship thing. Thought I'd ask if you're up for a drink." Her reply was instant. "Wait, seriously? Elena agreed to this?" "OMG, yes, I'm free." Next was Hannah, 31, Elena's co-worker. Reserved, but she and I always had easy banter at gatherings. My message: "Hi, Hannah. Hope you're good. Elena and I decided to open things up for a bit. Want to grab dinner Saturday." Her reply came an hour later. "That's unexpected from Elena, especially. Are you sure? But yes, dinner could be interesting." Finally, Claire, Elena's childhood best friend. Bold, outspoken, never one to hold back. I texted, "Hey, Claire, long time. Just so you know, Elena and I are trying an open relationship. Wondering if you like coffee or maybe something stronger next week." Claire didn't text back. She called. "What the actual hell? Elena asked for this, and you're asking me out?" I told her calmly. Her idea, her rules. I'm just seeing who's interested. After a pause, Claire burst out laughing. "You magnificent bastard. I don't know if I'm horrified or impressed. But yeah, okay, I'm in for a drink." 3 dates, all with her friends. And I hadn't even left the apartment yet. Elena had created a game, but I was about to show her what happens when someone else plays better. On Thursday, I casually told Elena, "By the way, I've got plans this weekend. Drinks with Marissa tomorrow, dinner with Hannah Saturday, coffee with Claire next week." Her reaction was everything I expected and more. The color drained from her face. She sputtered, My friends? You asked out my friends?" I shrugged. "We're open. That was your idea, remember?" The entitlement poured out of her. She hadn't imagined I'd actually take part in this open relationship, let alone with the people closest to her. She thought she'd be the only one tasting freedom while I sat quietly in her shadow. She tried to backpedal instantly. "That's not what I meant," she said, her voice trembling. But I kept my tone mild. "You said open. I'm respecting that, unless you want to call it off." She didn't answer, not directly. Instead, she called in reinforcements. First her brother, Noah, 33. He phoned me, furious. "Man, what are you doing? Elena's wrecked. Dates with her friends?" Seriously, I told him the truth. "Your sister gave me an ultimatum. I accepted. If she didn't mean it, that's on her. I'm just following her terms." He insisted I was being cruel. I reminded him that Elena had been prepared to end our engagement over this. That shut him up quickly. Then came the tears. Elena sat on the sofa, crying, whispering, "I can't believe you're really going through with this." I sat down across from her. "If you don't want this, say so. But remember, you said open relationship or no wedding. That was your choice. If you've changed your mind, we need to talk about what that means." She sobbed harder, saying she didn't know, begging me not to go on the dates. But I went anyway. My night with Marissa was fun. She admitted Elena had always been restless, always chasing what if. Nothing physical happened, but the laughter and conversation flowed. When I got home, Elena interrogated me. "Did you sleep with her?" I reminded her the rules, honesty if asked, but no interrogation. It was a first date, a drink, that's all. Her glare could have burned through steel. Dinner with Hannah the next night went just as smoothly. She was sharp, insightful, and called Elena's bluff outright. She wanted to be the one with options. You weren't supposed to actually accept. She loves attention, but she wants you chained to her. I couldn't have put it better. Hannah also mentioned Elena had called her earlier that day, trying to convince her to cancel. Hannah didn't. She saw right through Elena's manipulation. By the time I got home that night, Elena was furious. Not crying this time, but seething. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? You're humiliating me." I finally let my patience crack. "No, Elena, I'm doing exactly what you demanded. You wanted open. This is open. If you wanted monogamy, you should never have made a condition for our marriage." She broke then, shouting through tears, "I made a mistake, a huge mistake. Can't you see that?" And for the first time, I said out loud what I had been holding back. "No, Elena, you didn't make a mistake. You tried to manipulate me. You pulled a trigger on our wedding, thinking I'd beg you not to. And now you're shocked because I called your bluff." The fallout from Elena's ultimatum spread faster than I ever imagined. What began as a private conversation, an ultimatum whispered in the stillness of our apartment, transformed into a wildfire that consumed everything. Our relationship, our friendships, our reputations. It was the kind of destruction that you don't see coming until you're standing in the ashes, wondering how the flames spread so fast. The moment I agreed to her demand, open relationship or no wedding, the tone of our engagement shifted. At first, Elena thought she had the upper hand. She believed I would back down, beg her to stay, promise to change the terms. But when I calmly agreed, something broke inside her. The victory she expected turned hollow, because she had never believed I'd call her bluff. And once I did, her carefully constructed narrative began to collapse. She tried to regain control by twisting the story. Elena was a natural storyteller, always able to paint herself as the victim when things didn't go her way. She told her mother I was manipulative. She told her brother I was cruel. She told her friends that I had set a trap for her, that I was weaponizing her own words to ruin her life. But there's a funny thing about truth. It has a way of bleeding to the lies, no matter how carefully they're spun. Marissa, Hannah, and Claire, her closest friends, saw through her. They'd been there from the beginning. They knew the terms had been hers, not mine. When she tried to recast the story, Marissa withdrew. Hannah, blunt as ever, told her flat out, "You set this in motion, Elena, not him." And Claire, the most loyal of them all, finally said what everyone else was thinking. "Marriage isn't a game, and you turned it into one. That's on you." The collapse of her friendships, hurt her more than anything I could have said. She thrived on validation, on the support of her inner circle. Losing them wasn't just a blow to her ego. It was a crack in the foundation of her identity. Her family didn't handle it any better. Her mother, Patricia, called me late one night, her voice sharp with accusation. "You've broken her," she said. "She's in pieces." I reminded her, calmly but firmly, that Elena had been the one to put me in that position. I didn't invent the rules. I respected the ultimatum she gave me. Patricia tried to smooth it over, to excuse her daughter's ultimatum as cold feet. But cold feet is forgetting the name of a flower arrangement, not threatening to cancel a wedding unless your partner accepts an open relationship. And then there was Noah, her older brother. He stormed into my apartment, fists clenched, eyes blazing with anger. "You humiliated her," he snapped. "She's devastated." I didn't flinch. I told him plainly, "Your sister humiliated herself. She gambled with love, and she lost. I didn't push her into this. She jumped." The silence that followed was heavier than his threats. He left without another word, but I knew he'd replay that sentence in his mind 1,000 times. At home, Elena oscillated between desperation and rage. Some days she begged for forgiveness, swearing she had made a mistake. She promised she'd never bring it up again, that we could go back to the way things were. Other days, she lashed out, accusing me of orchestrating some elaborate plot to ruin her. But what she failed to understand was that I didn't need to plot anything. I just followed her rules. She built the machine. I pressed a button. The destruction unfolded naturally. And through it all, my love for her evaporated. Every tear, every argument, every half-hearted apology stripped away the illusions I had once held. I no longer saw her as the woman I wanted to marry. I saw her as someone who had weaponized love to bend me to her will. Commitment wasn't sacred to her. It was a bargaining chip. And once I saw that, there was no going back. The fallout wasn't just about the end of a relationship. It was about clarity. It was about finally seeing someone for who they really are when the mask slips away. Elena had wanted control, power, leverage. What she got instead was the crumbling of everything she once valued. And I watched the storm from the eye, calm, steady, knowing that I had nothing to hide and nothing to regret. The ending didn't arrive with drama. It wasn't a screaming match or shattered glasses or broken furniture. It came quietly, as endings often do, with a single conversation that carried the weight of everything we'd been through. I sat across from Elena at our kitchen table, the engagement ring resting between us like a symbol of everything lost. My voice was steady. The open relationship is over, but so is our engagement, not because of the dates, not because of your friends, because of the ultimatum. Her face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks, her hands trembling as she reached for mine. "Please," she whispered, "we can fix this. I'll take it back. I'll never bring it up again. I'll do anything." For a moment, I almost faltered. 5 years together. Countless memories. The thought of throwing it all away hurt. But then I remembered the ultimatum. I remembered how easily she had been willing to gamble everything we had for the illusion of freedom. And the resolve in me hardened again. "You showed me who you are," I said quietly. "You were willing to throw away everything for leverage. That isn't love, Elena. That's manipulation. And I can't marry someone who thinks love is a bargaining chip." She sobbed, begging, but I stayed still. I didn't move to comfort her. I didn't try to soften the blow. For the first time in our relationship, I let her sit with the full weight of her own choices. The weeks that followed were messy but liberating. Canceling the wedding was expensive. Thousands lost to deposits, caterers, and photographers, but every dollar felt like freedom. Splitting the apartment was chaotic. Dividing furniture, returning gifts, notifying friends. Yet the silence that followed her departure was the most peaceful sound I'd heard in months. Her social world collapsed around her. Marissa vanished. Hannah told her she needed to reflect before blaming anyone else. Claire's words echoed like a final nail in the coffin. "You destroyed this, not him." Her reputation crumbled piece by piece, not because of me, but because of her choices. For me, The ending became a beginning. I threw myself into rebuilding, into the gym, my career, my own passions. I rediscovered parts of myself I had neglected, and slowly I realized I had been spared. I had dodged a life of manipulation, a marriage built on power plays and ultimatums. Sometimes I'd hear whispers about her through mutual friends, failed relationships, a sense of regret, a bitterness she couldn't shake. I almost pitied her. Almost. But pity fades when I remember the truth. She wanted control, she wanted power, and in trying to win, she lost everything. And me? I walked away lighter, freer, my dignity intact, with a single lesson carved into my soul. When someone is willing to gamble with your love, let them play their game. Let them lose, and then walk away. That, in the end, is the sweetest revenge. Not anger, not destruction, just peace, just freedom, just walking away, leaving them to live in the ruins of their own making. And with that, our story comes to an end, but the real story begins with your thoughts. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let me know in the comments.